how much taxes we can ask. I realize what's here today isn't a whole lot of decreases, but we're down 3.3%. We just got to be a little careful that we don't back ourselves in a hole where we decrease it too much. Then next year we have tax askings that, you know, have to go up. I'm hoping that mental health will be exempt, capital projects will be exempt, and debt service will be exempt. We don't know.
Mental health is exempt in the legislation.
Huh?
Mental health is exempt.
Yes, I think debt service.
Because I think that they're putting all these new mandates at the same
Right,
time.
right. They're taking the caps off the general fund and the rural basic, but they take caps off, but then put a limitation on how much we can ask for. So it's just shifting is all they're doing a little bit. But still in legislation, we don't know where it's going.
One last question. How much was reduced from the beginning of the budget hearings through the 8 to 9 or 10?
Through the budget hearings, I believe it was right around 1.7 million. It was quite a bit. And we did allow one more deputy. We did allow one more jailer. So there were some improvements that, you know, approved. Not all of them, but we did approve some where it was pretty much needed.
But in comparison to $1.7 million
Yes.
that we said, either said no to or reduced.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Can we shift the 16,000 plus saved to gaming rather than cash reserves?
16,000 general basic, so decrease it and then decrease the asking from gaming revenue. We could do that because you aren't changing your tax, you're decreasing your tax asking, you aren't changing the tax rate, we're just decreasing gaming revenue transfer.
I would support that.
Okay.
But that's more on item C, right? Not the public hearing.
Well, we need to close the public hearing, get public comment if there is any, and then go on to the budget itself, where we approve this reduction, approve what Matthew's talking about, and then review what you want to do with the comp board.
So anything to be heard on the public hearing from anybody in the room here? Seeing no comment, I'll move we close the public hearing. Motion by Raddick, second by Taylor to close the public hearing. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes 5-0.
Now,
Moving.
reduce the 16,396 and then follow through with Matthew's. That's a motion, Matthew.
Yes, so moved.
Second.
Any further? Okay, so motion by Ung, second by Taylor to basically shift that 16,000 from reserves to a reduction in gaming revenue spending. Any other discussion on that item?
Well, not a reduction in gaming revenue, an increase.
No.
That corresponds to the saving. Yeah.
Reduction in the spending of gaming revenues essentially is what's happening.
Yep.
You got it, Dennis?
Yep. We'll get together tomorrow. I know what Matthew's trying to do here, which is good.
All right, all those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that motion passes 5-0.
I did include the recommendation of the comp board in your board packet here. That is probably the next issue to tackle, or any other reductions the board is thinking about.
Of course, I would have liked to have seen us maybe shift 3 cents back to general sup and then take about 22 cents off of countywide for the secondary road use funding. But I think that's maybe something we got to look at next year.
Yeah, that we can't change that really. Like
I know we can't change it now.
That's an issue we definitely need to take a look next year.
And I think it's something that was brought up, you know, I didn't throw it on the agenda. I kind of wish I had. And, you know, I think you would agree with that, Mark, especially now that we're using a lot of secondary road funds going through townships and cities on their main streets. So.
Can I just ask a quick question on that? Because I'm supportive of that as well. Is that something that can go down conversely next year if that countywide initiative is?
It's potential, yes. We'll have to see how much the tax base grew in the rural areas to see what the next minimum levy increase is going to be to kind of determine where that could go, where potentially it shifts to countywide. Still, the townships will be paying part of the countywide, but then you have all the other cities contributing also, which will reduce the burden on the rural basic.
Which is not a bad thing at all.
No, the more you think about it, yeah.
Well, if it's what's driving up a majority of that increase in valuations and the increase in spending, then it probably should start paying for
Yeah.
part of the bill.
And this 19 assessment year we're talking about is going to affect our 2021, so if we have a huge increase in assessed values and the rollbacks doesn't knock that back proportionally a little bit, our tax-based minimum is going to jump because we got to include the countywide and the rural. So you got to include that 16.75 cents or whatever it is, Mark, and then include that in his calculations. So if we have a big jump, you're going to see a jump in that minimum tax levy.
Sounds like it may jump more than 1%, meaning we might be able to put the money we committed to gravel a lot sooner.
Right, yes.
All right, any other motions so far on this budget?
At the end of the budget, when we're all done, there is an approval of fiscal year 1920 budget and certification of taxes. That'll be by resolution, but we got to go through the comp board yet. That's the last item. So
You
I
don't
guess
have to. It's published.
It's published, you can approve it. So let's go from there. The will of the board is.
Mr. Chair,
I'm looking for,
just a question. How many appointed deputies do we have in the room today? Just so I'm aware. Thank you.
A couple.
Are we on that topic right now?
yeah, whatever. I mean, it's, we're on item C. So, yeah.
So I'll voice my opinion on this. I think we're kind of put in a tough conundrum as a board because I think our deputies are some of our hardest working employees. And I said earlier on that I didn't like bifurcating out, one group of employees from another as far as the percentage, but the comp board recommendation kind of forces us into that in some ways because it's all or nothing, meaning those at the highest end of recommendation, which is effective 6.42% down to 3% are all together. So I have never liked the idea of giving management or leadership a higher percentage raise than those on the front lines or rank and file. So that's some of my heartburn with this. So I reached out to, I know that there's catch-up, so to speak, based on our population, and so I don't want this to be any reflection of that. The sheriff and county attorney did a great job, and the deputies do as well. So with that said, I don't like that we're tied into that. If we could take 0 as supervisors, that'd be, and I try to put my money where my mouth is and not take a raise in heaven. So that's why I may be dissenting, but it's no reflection on anybody else.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
to Mr. Taylor's point, I don't see that the rank and file gets lower than the management because there's been many, many years that management got nothing. And past boards and so forth, I know I keep bringing up the past board issue, but I think there was a record of about 8 years where one sheriff never got a raise, period. And the very next year when a different one got voted in, he got a substantial raise, bump, whatever. I don't share your feelings on the rank and file getting lower than management. I think management has been lagging severely in many, many cases for many, many years. And I think Mr. Butler built this into our budget. I don't see any reason that we should shy away from that. Thank you.
I'm just going to comment. I agree with one thing. I don't like the system at all. I'm still getting used to what it is over here compared to my past life. But that being said, because we're kind of tied down to what we can and can't do, I'm going to support it as it is. But not because I have anything against anybody in this room. I just don't like the system, period. But I don't want to punish. I mean, the management people I'm not that worried about, but the deputies, I really don't want to punish them at all. But I think the system's crazy anyway.
Anything to add there? I can add something too.
What are you
Just
looking
a
at?
question, there was a bill to decouple because for the good of the public so that they know, one of the conundrums right now is whatever we do to or for the auditor is going to affect the auditor's deputies. So right now, if the recommendation for the auditor's at 3%.
Correct.
And the recommendation for the sheriff 6.42%, if you reduce by half the sheriff at 3.21, that reduces the auditor to 1.5 and subsequently reduces the deputies that we're trying to protect or hold harmless. So
That is correct.
and so there's a bill that probably is not going to make
It did not make the
funnel.
funnel.
Okay, that would decouple those two things.
Right.
There, you do have an option, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, that if you do something 30 days prior to our public hearing, that the board can exclude themselves from a pay, is this correct, Pat?
That's
Exclude
correct.
themselves from a pay raise. Okay, we didn't do that this year. Now, if you feel if the comp board isn't changed or whatever, the same concept, you can next year, if you're willing to do that. I don't know why you would, but if you do, you could freeze yourselves at 0 or 2%, but then the others would be free to go.
And you can preemptively do that before the comp board's recommendation? Is that-
30 days prior, regardless of what the compensation board schedule comes back at. If you would have taken action 30 days prior to today, you could have exempted yourself from a raise.
But my question is, if we didn't get the comp board's recommendation 30 days prior, you could do that preemptively?
Yes.
saying,
Yes.
No matter what the comp board says,
Yes.
supervisor's going to take care of it?
Yes.
But just to add on that, and I don't know if you guys would have wanted to do it, but the law actually says the 30 days only applies if you guys want to reduce your salary. If you guys don't want anything, you can tell your representatives, vote 0% increase for us. That doesn't take any predetermination. They can do that at the same time the comp board meets. The 30 days is only if you want to say, we want less. That's the only thing 30 days applies. We tried to do that before because the other board members said, I'll take less. And so we gave them 0. And then the board turned around and gave everybody 0, assuming that was because they were ticked off, that they got 0.
But not this board?
No, in the past, which is why nobody's been pushing that.
Right.
But as far as the deputy is concerned, as far as catching up and the different percentages, really, if anybody should be a little ticked off, it's me. I feel that I should be getting some of those higher percentages. But that's personal to me because of what I feel I do as part of that office. A lot of folks in my position are more administrative, meaning they aren't going to trial. I go to trial. I'm there every day doing cases. So we've had, I think, 2 increases in the past when we've had differing percentages. Maybe somebody got 2.75 or 2%, 2.5%. I've always been on the lower end of that. That didn't bother me at all because I also feel that those other elected officials are worth what they get. So I don't have any problem with that. When you look across the street, because where I feel we're going to end up in is that when somebody realistically tries to look at our numbers and tries to catch us up, those percentages are going to get wider. So we're talking 6% now. That 6% that you might give to Sheriff Drew isn't going to get him to where he should be at. The 5% with me isn't going to get me to where I should be at. And I've given you guys kind of a layout of what that 5% would put me. So all we're going to do is spread that. The city council, I believe, a couple of years ago, gave those folks 50% increase. That 50% sounds like a blown out of proportion number, but all they're trying to do is catch themselves up. That 50% didn't get them anywhere where they probably should be. This year they're proposing, I believe, a little over 13%. Looking at just that percentage may say, oh, that's too much. But in relation to that number, that dollar figure, it's not that bad.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
To your point about this spread and so forth and your deputies and alluding to Sheriff Drew and others and his deputies, of course, and other deputies in every department, has any, to your knowledge, has any deputies or elected or appointed responsibilities gone down?
No, I don't think that could ever happen.
There you go.
I know mine haven't.
That's my point. Every year.
My deputy right now has 2 murder first cases out there that he's doing himself. There's other people in the office helping him, but he's leading that. That's my first assistant, who you guys are looking at possibly either reducing or giving him no increase, along with me. But that's my first assistant. That's why I sent the second email, or actually the first email, that included him at the bottom. That's what you're actually doing to him. I just think the increases that we're asking for is reasonable. That percentage might be a big number if you look at just percentage, but the dollar figures, it doesn't even get us to where we should be as a county. Thank you.
I have a question on the, as far as the percentage of the elected officials' pay. It's 85% at the top end to what at the low end?
I don't think there is a low end. I don't know about the sheriff's department.
80 was the lowest.
As far as, and certain departments have different numbers, but as far as I'm aware of, there is no low amount.
Okay.
I just know that my first assistant has 35 years of service, which is more than what I have.
Does every office have someone at the 85% level?
I have no idea.
Is any office not?
They have some at 85, but they have some also 80, some have, one has one at 65%.
Okay.
Or in that range. So just sets the max, but the board also controls how many deputies they have too. You set the numbers, they set the wages.
And the basic reason for that is that they're authorized to do acts of your office. Is that correct?
When you say acts of our office, we're
I
talking
mean,
about the deputies?
sign important documents or enter into agreements.
If I'm not there and not able to carry out my duties, or I'm on vacation, my first assistant takes my responsibilities.
Okay.
So the individual department head will set their deputy percent.
Correct. Up to those dollar limits.
So they can't go beyond a certain, they can't go beyond 85, is that what it is?
Currently.
Right. Yes. There's some other levels within the sheriff's department, I believe, that, you know, if you got your first line of deputies and then you got your second line of deputies, I think they may only be able to go up to 80% or something along those lines, but 85% regardless is the top that any deputy can make of the principal salary.
No, not gonna.
Very specific number.
But again, looking at those numbers, that doesn't get us to where we probably should be, in my opinion, as to the work that we do. When you look at our county population and percentage to other counties, and I'm not discouraging those other counties for getting the money that they were able to achieve, but as far as we're concerned and the work that we do, I believe you guys have all, over time, stated the competence that your employees, meaning county employees, serve the county and the residents of this county. And I believe our compensation helps us. Again, it's only a small piece. We don't get anything else. We don't get any accolades. You can't give us anything. As elected officials, we can't accept anything. What we have is our pay and the love for the job that we do. And that's it.
Just to follow up on what PJ said, Dave Drew, Sheriff, Woodbury County. I want to compliment you first on two things. One, I was able to get what we were hoping for, a deputy and a correctional officer. I do think that you've done your due diligence on reducing taxes. Is 1.7 million, is that the number you came up with, or somewhere in there? 1.6 million. I think that you've done in that. Did that figure out the raises that were in there? So,
Talk about the comp board act,
Right,
plug those in,
right.
and then do-
I think as the electorate would think that you've done your job. And I would agree with Marty, I agree with PJ. It's a goofy system. Pat has been kind of the bad guy on this deal, but there's other times that I've gone along and got 3% when the gap continues to grow. So somewhere along the line, not that often, you may have to say it's out of whack. The police chief here is a part of my comparison group, and he's about $17,000 more than I make. I don't know that there's that much difference in responsibility, except I have a jail. I have two majors that spend a lot of time working in the jail and out on the road and doing the budget, and they're at 85%. The reason we use a different percentage for the others is because we have a command structure. And so I try to make that so the sergeants don't make more, because that's what's happened in the past than our lieutenants. At one time, they were making as much as a major when they got overtime. When we had the CF project going, they all worked it. They were making $90,000 a year, some of them. And my major was making $82,000 and working as many hours. There's something really wrong with that. I'm not going to belabor it. My guys work hard. All elected official guys should, I know they're supporting their people. But I just want to tell you this time, I've said in other years it's about them. I need a raise. I need a raise. I'm far behind. I've lost two people that have gone and made tremendous amount of more money than we are in a town that is 23, 24,000. I would appreciate that you would extend that to all of us here. Thanks.
Mike Clayton, County Treasurer. I'll just throw in my 2 cents worth. You know, I can't stay out of it. I have to always have a couple cents in there too. Nothing else, Dave in his office deserves probably more money than any of us, because of the fact that the primary reason that government exists is to protect our citizens. So we want to make sure we have a good force out there to do that. We talk about rank and file. They're getting farther and farther apart. Well, that's inherent in a percentage increase. That's always going to happen, and like it or not, that's what happens. If I make 100,000, get 3%, and you make 20,000, get 3%, I keep moving farther and farther away. I can't control that, other than the fact that you could, as a comp board, they could say everybody's going to get a $5,000 raise, not a percentage raise, and then you could adjust that, however you want to do that. As far as frontline employees go, my deputies are frontline as you can get, because without them, I could not run my office. There's no way in hell, because I don't know everything there is to know about my office like they do. I can't do the everyday minutia of what goes on. I have a good working knowledge of what goes on, but I couldn't sit up at that front counter and do what they do like they do every day. So if I could get 0 raise and I could get them 3%, I'd be happy with that. But I can't do that because that's not the way the law is written. So that's just my 2 cents worth. I looked through this last year's salary compensations. More counties than not were 3% plus of raises. 79 out of those counties, the treasurer and the auditor, were making the same amount of money. So do what you got to do, but don't take it out on my deputies because you don't think you want a raise, or you don't think you should get raises.
Did you want to hear from me again, or?
You can go if you like there.
I was going to say no.
Setting a timer at 3 minutes. No.
Pat Gill, Woodbury County Auditor. I know I talked to you about this once before, and I'm just going to say it again. I know we've talked about this, about the raises for the deputies being tied to the elected official, and we might not like it, but those are the facts. That's what it really is. I sat in a subcommittee room down there where they actually talked about the comp board and the way this law is written, and there was talk of decoupling the deputies from the elected officials' raises. And actually, I thought I would have been fine with that because I would have been able to do that. I'll defend myself on my own, but I'm here to defend the deputies today. We have deputies, 3 deputies here who work hard. There was a bill today that, just to kind of explain a little bit about the auditor's office, and I don't know how many treasurers, but I'll just say about the auditor. I have the ability to have 2 deputies that are 85%, and then 1 deputy, or any other deputies that you authorize at 80%. They are capped. There's no minimum, but they are capped at that. And I have 2 deputies at 85%, Diane over the recorder's office and Michelle in the auditor's office. And they do a great job. They work very hard at their job, and so does Steve. Today we watched in a legislative session, the House passed a bill that would allow us to pay the Deputy Commissioner of Elections at 85% too, to bring that parity. I'm happy about that. And I hope that bill passes. But right now, what I've said before, Michelle works right alongside Dennis. Dennis does a great job. He's very knowledgeable. He's getting a 3% raise, and Michelle works just as hard as Dennis. And I just think that it's just unfair to those deputies that if they don't get that. No, none of us like the way it is set up now, but it is the fact. So I'd appreciate your consideration of that. Thank you.
And I think that, as a room full of people, I'm sitting here telling, I appreciate what you do. In a lot of cases, I think maybe you deserve 110% of what your elected official makes. But the way this system is, I really have a hard time supporting this vote. I think immediately, next meeting we should put something together to encourage the House to look at decoupling deputies and treating them on the pay scale just like any other employee, as far as an employee and not a part or a percentage of the elected official. But that's where I stand. I don't know what will be decided by us here yet today, but that's my position. Still need more discussion or a motion of any kind.
I would move to accept the compensation board recommendation as proposed.
Second.
So we have a motion to accept as proposed by DeWitt, second by Potabom. Any other discussion? Anything for the cause? Anyone else? I just do a roll call then. We'll go with that.
DeWitt?
Mr. Auditor, if I pass, will you come back to me?
Yes, I will.
Pass.
Potabom?
Aye.
Taylor?
No.
Ung?
Nay.
Raddick?
I'll say no.
DeWitt?
Aye.
So that one fails 2-3. So we'd need an alternate form of recommendation.
I'll move a reduction of 25%.
I'll second it for discussion. So what numbers would we be looking at there? 6.5?
And Michelle has that, I think, or do you, Dennis, do you have it?
I got it here, right at the shelves. If you reduce it 25%, it would save $23,685. And you have to remember that's over general basic, rural basic, I believe, and general sub.
Question for the county attorney. The dollar increases for myself and for the sheriff, is that reduced by a percentage, or is that?
The only way that I think that they can do it is to take all of those monies and reduce that by the percentage, including the dollar amount that you guys got. So that 6.4, 6.5, whatever it is, the 5.6 that you're getting includes that lump sum dollar.
I understand that, but should that lump sum be included in the percentage increase?
I think it has to be. There's no other way to really do it.
Michelle, do you have what that, what the resulting percentage increase would be?
Well, anyone that was 3 would be 2.25, right?
Pardon?
It would be 2.25 from 3 to 2.25.
6.4 would end up 4.8. What were the percentages before? Is that in our packet anywhere?
Yes, in the spreadsheet that I gave you, you have it.
I can go get it, I don't have it.
Oh, here it is. It's right here. So, oh no, it doesn't have the percentages.
Okay.
It has 2,200, 3,500.
Do you have that spreadsheet there?
Attorney was 5, so that would go.
Where it breaks down by percent, like Pat's be down.
6.42 becomes
So-
4.815.
Attorney goes to 3.75.
It ought to be at 2.25.
Yep.
Say, Dennis, $23,685. What's that going to save the taxpayer?
About a half a cent.
It'll save 0.5 of 1 cent.
All right, any other discussion on the item? We have a roll call.
DeWitt,
Nay.
Potabom,
No.
Taylor, Ung,
Aye.
Raddick.
Aye, passes, or fails 2 to 3, excuse me. So any other alternative?
May I refresh my move to accept the comp board recommendation as proposed?
No, I'd take a motion to reconsider from somebody on the
It has to be one of the other.
dissenting side. So is there a number you were working with there, Jeremy?
No, I don't like the whole thing. But
So there's no way to put bonuses out there or anything as far as a compensation technique for,
Change the law.
right?
The comp board met for a reason. I don't think they're out of line. I think anything less than what's proposed is frankly a joke. I'm not going to support anything less than as proposed. I think it's time we stuck up for our employees, elected and appointed. I don't think we've been doing that for a long time.
It always amazes me every year since I've been here. I know comp boards meet in December, some in November, and they suggest something to their counties. And sometimes their county boards will actually vote on that prior to even the end of the year.
It's probably a better idea.
It probably is.
Because
it
now
seems
we're here
like
in
every
crunch time.
freaking year we come in here and you're trying to balance your budget on the backs of the treasurer or the auditor or anybody else that you can find. You don't try to balance it on the backs of the wage plan people or on the backs of the contract people. Why is it always on elected officials and their deputies? If you put it in your budget at 3%, just pass the damn thing and be done with it. And if you're going to save a lousy $23,000, oh, I'm impressed.
Sheriff's Office. I was listening to the radio yesterday and talking about city council's raises. And one of the callers was calling in, and they were moaning about the city council wanting a raise because they said, well, they shouldn't be in it for a career. They said, the caller agreed, yeah, they should get a raise, but gosh, they want this money. It's a career. I agree. I don't want career politicians. But this is my career. This is 27 years of my career, getting close to retirement. You keep pushing the can down the road, that affects me and my loved ones. $23,000, how many opportunities or how many things do you want me to show you how I've saved you $23,000 in the jail, or how I beat my head against the wall to save money in that jail? So $23,000 is your savings. It's a slap in the face. It tells us you don't care about us. And it's real hard to become, I want to be a team player for Woodbury County, when exactly you're balancing the budget on our backs. And you're not going to find any of the more hardworking people for this county that's sitting in this room right now. It's a slap in the face.
Michelle Scaff, Deputy Auditor. I just want to bring your attention to some of the things that are going on this year. I know you all know about the Tyler project. These deputies, most of these deputies in this room are part of the project management team. We chose not to hire a contractor, which would have cost the county probably hundreds of thousands of dollars if we had an outside contractor come in to manage that project. It's these people here that are managing it. Diane already has new software in the recorder's office. Steve is managing new software and hardware in elections. We've got the treasurer's office coming to bi-weekly meetings with Tyler to make sure that this goes okay. And this is going to go on for the next year. So I'd like you just to take that into consideration.
Well, the reason I didn't support the last one is I don't think it's fair on one hand, the 2.25%, and then I made that clear the other day when we were trying to delineate between the two. So I don't like that. The whole thing's just messed up.
What do you like?
Wage plan is still 2.5 for most employees.
Wage plan got 3%, conservation got 3%, district health got 3%, county assessor got 3%, city assessor got 3%.
Sorry, it was the unions, most unions that were
Yes.
negotiated, sorry.
They're all for negotiations next year.
Right,
We just signed a contract for 4 years for 3%.
right, for one union. The others were at 2.5 still.
I'm having trouble with, we're tasked and elected to manage $50 million plus, and we're squibbling over 23,000. I'm having trouble with that. I get we want to keep our levies low. I understand what was going on elsewhere, but this is sad.
I think the part of it that really frustrates me, though, is that I don't know how we get change in Des Moines on this unless we have something of a real public debate on this. I mean, it starts here, obviously, but I think, if we can all come together and support making changes to decoupling this, I think it has to happen.
Well, I'm not in favor of cutting everybody's throat in this room, waiting for Des Moines to do something.
You want to look at a 15% reduction, or are you not?
I'm not going to take the salary increase anyway. I haven't taken it the last 4 years because I tried to put my money where my mouth is. That probably won't make its way into the story, and then I'll hear about it tomorrow, but I'll move to reconsider.
I would suggest, if you're going to do that, is that you have to do a motion to reconsider. It's published. If you want to vote on the budget at this point, you can vote on the budget, and then the compensation board will be approved along with the budget.
So then you don't have to vote on it at all because
No.
it's already included in the budget.
You just move the budget.
And
I
just for the
think
record,
you actually have to reconsider, though, because we already voted it down. Would you not?
no, what he's saying is right. But before you do that, I just want to say, for the record, I appreciate that.
Well, so are you making the motion then on the budget, or? Or is there any other changes anybody wanted on the budget?
Look at me.
Any other changes anyone wanted on the budget?
Well, if it's not a reconsider bid, I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
All right, so we got a motion by Potabom. I'll second that.
With the one adjustment for ComSat.
Yeah.
You're approving everything?
We took
Well,
that out.
we already voted on that, though, right?
No.
Did you do, I don't think you did a
You haven't
concept.
voted on that yet.
Well, they didn't take it, it was a shifting.
That shifted like Matthew suggested here.
Yeah,
16th.
with that
That was
adjustment.
already voted on.
That was voted on,
Yes.
Yeah, but we have to include that with the motion, right?
Adam as
Yep,
amended.
with the included adjustment.
Yep. And then whatever, Jeremy, if that's his priority, he can do that like he has in the past. Wherever you want to put it.
All right, any further discussion on the budget? I think this too will likely be a split vote. We'll go ahead with a roll call.
DeWitt.
Aye.
Potabom.
Aye.
Taylor. Ung.
Aye.
Raddick.
No. So that passes 4-1. And we are, any last,
Do they have to pass that? Do they have to pass a resolution, Pat? Okay, there's a resolution here, and you can go ahead and read that resolution. Already be passed.
Thank you as well. Matthew Young, thank you as well.
all right, so move on to the resolution, approval of the FY 1920 budget and certification of taxes. Whereas the Woodbury County Board of Supervisors has considered the proposed FY 2019-2020 county budget and certification of taxes, and whereas a public hearing concerning the proposed county budget was held on March 12, 2019, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Woodbury County that the county budget and certificate of taxes for the FY 19 and 20 as set forth in the budget summary is hereby adopted, and that the Woodbury County Finance Director is directed to file said budget and to establish accounting records in accordance with the attached schedules with the Woodbury County Auditor. Be it further resolved that the chairperson and the county auditor be and are hereby authorized to sign the approved FY 2019-2020 county budget, signed and dated this 12th day of March 2019. I'll move the resolution.
Second.
Any other discussion on the resolution? Motion by Potabom, second by DeWitt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that passes 5-0. No other concerns? Adjourned.
Thank you. Appreciate it.